Post published an exclusive story about findings of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, which allegedly declared that had the Chinese Communist Party not covered up the severity of the CCP virus outbreak, it may have prevented the pandemic. President Donald Trump was asked about the story during an interview with Fox and Friends, where he stated this.
I say it every time I speak, Brian. I'm angry at them because they could have stopped this. They could have stopped it easily. They stopped it from going back further into their country, but they didn't stop it from going out to the rest of the world, of which we're a part. They didn't stop it from coming here in Europe and all over the world, 188 countries to be exact. They did not stop it. Countries are devastated.
Trump was also asked about a Reuters report about a video released by the Chinese Air Force where it depicted nuclear-armed bombers carrying out simulated attacks on a U.S. Air Force base in Guam. Trump said, quote, "Well, I won't be telling you that. They know they've got some big problems, okay? If they play around, if they want to play the game, they've got a big problem." Now, that video was released on September 19th by the CCP's People's Liberation Army Air Force as the regime carried out its second day of military drills near Taiwan. And that move was seen as the CCP making a threat against the United States for having a diplomatic visit in Taiwan. Now, in addition to this, in addition to publishing its propaganda depicting the CCP military bombing a U.S. military base on Guam, which is also U.S. territory, it was also found soon after that the Chinese military pirated parts of that video from 3 different American movies. This included clips pirated from the Transformers film Revenge of the Fallen, The Hurt Locker, and The Rock. Now, this was seen as a blow to the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, that even their propaganda, even their military propaganda, depends on stealing from the United States. Again, with their military itself, they're often accused of stealing technology from the U.S. to build up their military. Here we see this even applies to their propaganda. Now, meanwhile, along the border between China and India, a video has been released showing Chinese soldiers crying as they're allegedly being transported to the disputed border. The video was initially posted on Chinese social media app WeChat, but was deleted soon after. Now, there are ongoing reports about the poor temperament and level of maturity of Chinese soldiers. A lot of criticisms on this go to the one-child policy, which is blamed in China for creating a generation that is spoiled and weak. You see Chinese officials and Chinese Communist Party soldiers crying, being weak, having poor temperament, not being able to deal with hardship because they grew up pampered and spoiled. And meanwhile, there are ongoing lockdowns in China around the spread of the CCP virus. In Shanxi, China, all students at the Xi'an International Studies University were locked in their school under the narrative of preventing the spread of the virus. The students are being forbidden from going out without having a valid reason, and they can only get food deliveries and other supplies through delivery. Now, similar lockdowns in schools were also made in Beijing and in Henan in China. And in these cases as well, students are forbidden from going out. And the measures have also caused prices of commodities at the school to soar, because again, you have demand going up. Videos show that in the middle of the night, students can be heard in their dorm shouting loudly and crying for freedom. So again, in China, this virus outbreak. Now, we talk about the second wave outbreak. Now, that's just kind of going along with trying to explain what's happening there. But in reality, the virus outbreak, the first wave in China, still has not ended. It never ended. When the Chinese Communist Party declared that the virus had ended, that was under the assessment that their economy was failing. Their economy was at risk of collapse. They had this narrative of opening up, saying the virus is over. One day after they were saying it's the biggest problem in the country. It went from being the biggest problem the CCP was facing, this virus outbreak in China, to being over in a single day after the Chinese Communist Party assessed again that their economy was about to collapse. And here we see again the CCP is having lockdown measures in many parts of China, while at the same time trying to tell the rest of the world that it's over in China. And now related to this, there's a major case in China. The CCP sent a message in this court case that criticizing the regime's handling of the virus can result in lengthy prison terms, and that even high-level officials in China are not safe from this. A Chinese tycoon was sentenced to 18 years in prison and has been fined around $620,000. He was charged, technically, for embezzling public funds, accepting bribes, and abusing power from his position at a state-run Chinese company. But the case and Ren Ziqiang's heavy sentence are being interpreted as being meant to send a message to CCP members that criticizing or defying party leader Xi Jinping will not be tolerated. Mr. Ren had published an essay saying he saw the country's leader, meaning Xi Jinping, as a power-hungry clown. And soon after his essay was published, he was disappeared before re-emerging.
受不了的事情，咱们的孩子们后代语言方面就有很大的影响。小孩子现在7、8岁，到了10岁以后，20年以后，他就跟爷爷奶奶就沟通不了了语言。恐吓倒是没有，买的房子或者贷款，或者是他们公积进来买的话，他们就要写不送孩子的话，贷款就不给你贷了。第二，当地的学籍取消学籍，他们说就是这样。听说那时候主动的几个人都被抓了，现在没有人主动了，就一家一家的政府和学校，老师都要咱们蒙古家长不送的话，要各种的措施，要写，完了一点都送了。
Mongolians really don't want to lose their language. If they lose this, they lose everything, and then they cease to exist as a distinct people. So this is why they are really, fiercely resisting this policy. If they fail to, put down these people, and then they feel that their ethnic policies ended up with failure. So they didn't admit to their failure. So they wanted to use, all possible means to tame you. That means the constitution can and all these are possible.